The Trump administration is setting the stage for another legal showdown over its policies. This time, it's about its push to bar transgender athletes in girls' sports. Today, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a lawsuit against the state of Maine, accusing it of violating federal law banning gender-based discrimination in sports. Let's listen to what she had to say.
If one young woman is in jeopardy, one, that's enough for us to be standing up here. One, no boy will be undressing in a girl's locker room. No boy will be walking in a woman's restroom. And no boy, when we're finished with this, will be beating young girls in sports.
Okay, let's bring in CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen. Jake, can you help us break down this lawsuit and exactly what the DOJ is asking for?
Sure. This goes back to, you'll remember when President Trump first took office, the Maine governor was at a governor's meeting at the White House, Janet Mills, and she spoke out when President Trump was talking about his campaign trail promise to get biological men out of women's sports or girls' sports in this context that we're talking about today in terms of high school and middle school sports. Janet Mills shouted, "We'll see you in court," over that executive order. It appears that the Trump administration has fired the opening salvo in this, as Attorney General Pam Bondi announced this suit today alongside Education Secretary Linda McMahon and a couple other people who have been very highly outspoken about this issue. The big thing to really take away from this is that the Trump administration has cited 3 examples of biological boys playing in girls' sports in high schools across Maine. They claim that this is a violation of Title IX and that Maine has to comply with Trump's executive order banning that. We'll see whether this suit has merit. We've seen a number of suits already from the Trump administration on things like immigration, targeting the city of Chicago and the city of New York for being sanctuary cities. What the Trump administration wants in this is restitution paid to the female athletes that were hurt by this. They want potential fines paid by the state of Maine, as well as forcing compliance with this, basically holding the threat of financial funding for Maine schools and other entities across Maine that receive federal funding over the governor's head as they kind of go through these court cases, and at least in this case, a real court filing, not just a threat from President Trump.
Right. And Jake, we know this lawsuit is coming as the administration clashes with states over policies on transgender people, including in prison. So what did Bondi say about that?
Yeah, she responded to a reporter's question earlier who asked, hey, what about this as well? Because Maine does allow for people who are transgender to be put in prisons prison blocks of the gender that they identify in. Pam Bondi said that she would continue cutting funding to the Maine Correctional Facility that also receives federal funding until this is restored. But we've seen a lot of pushback across the government in lawsuits against the Trump administration. We've been tracking a number of these at CBS News as prisoners who have seen this executive order from President Trump, which would require them to go back to prison blocks that they align with their biological sex. And a lot of them have secured restraining orders temporarily blocking their transfers to that. So we'll see as these kind of play out through the courts whether the Trump administration really has kind of a leg to stand on in that. But certainly another way that the Trump administration has been going after these states, if not just through lawsuits, is by simply cutting funding off by saying you don't align with our agenda, therefore X amount of millions or billions that go to X amount of programs are done. I'll just add, Mugo, that Maine actually sued to block some of these cuts and won last week in a lawsuit after a number of school food programs and special ed programs, their funding was cut by the Trump administration in retaliation for some of this, and that funding has been restored at least temporarily.
That's some good context on that. I also want to ask you about the high-profile case that we keep talking about, and that is Bondi. She was asked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that's the Maryland father who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador, and if we'll see actual evidence. They keep saying that he was a member of MS-13. She was asked about whether or not we'll actually see evidence showing that, and here's how she responded to that question. We'll talk to you on the other side.
He is an illegal alien who has been living illegally in our country from El Salvador. ICE testified. An immigration judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. An appellate judge ruled he was a member of MS-13. He is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story. If he wanted to send him back, we would give him a plane ride back.
So, Jake, the administration clearly they're doubling down on keeping Abrego Garcia in El Salvador. So where does the case stand right now in court?
Well, I just want to put the soundbite that you just played in context. The judge in Maryland yesterday, I was in that courtroom, she said that President Bukele's comments, in addition to all the allegations in immigration court, which are separate than U.S. federal court, none of that applies. And she wants depositions by next week and discovery and expedited fact-finding mission over the next 2 weeks from the Department of Justice, hearing what they've done, what people with firsthand knowledge who have submitted sworn declarations of court, what these people know about what efforts have been underway, are underway, might not be underway. As we know, the Trump administration, again, has signaled no plans to bring him back. But she said that just because President Bukele pivoted on the question, she even said that he actually didn't even answer the reporter's question in terms of bringing him back. She said none of that is sworn testimony in court. She said, just because there are allegations in immigration court, and Pam Bondi did say she would release some of these transcripts, that none of that was proven in a court of law. There have been no criminal charges filed against him either in El Salvador or in the United States. Again, it's just important context to consider as we know that there will be a fact-finding mission going forward. The attorneys for Mr. Abrego Garcia said they have had no contact with him going forward. And despite the government saying that he is alive and stable in this prison, there have been no efforts by the Trump administration to get him back. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days and weeks.
Like so many cases, yeah, Jake Rosen, we will see what happens. Thank you so much for your reporting.